Hello, my fiends, and welcome to another episode of the Castle of Spirits True Ghost Stories podcast, brought to you by castleofspirits.com, a almost 28 years old true ghost story website where you can read, how many do we have now? 4,600 and growing?
Yes.
True ghost and paranormal stories.
Most of them frightening.
Almost all of them frightening.
Indeed.
And you know what? I'm going to wager that today we have dug up, puns, we've dug up 4 of the creepiest ones.
Ah, I get it now.
Yeah, dug up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the Ghost Keeper Vince.
And I'm the Ghost Keeper Jane.
Together we are the Ghost Keepers.
That's how it works.
Of the Castle of Spirits.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
Wow. Are you asking me or them?
Them.
Well,
I already know how you are. I'm looking right at you.
Well, are you guys going to answer him?
Nope. Crickets.
So, Vince, I thought maybe we could get this party started.
Yeah, I thought of something new this time. I thought maybe we could read some ghost stories from the website.
I like the way you think.
Yeah. So these are true ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody get ready because this is going to be off the chain. Is that a saying?
Well...
Off the rattling chain.
Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm. I'll allow it.
Anyway, some months back, I read a story from the Scariest Stories of All Time archive called The Wraith of Mystery Mile.
Mm-hmm. A favorite here at the castle.
Now, for those who don't know, who are not acquainted, Mystery Mile is located, it's actually called Kelly Road. Mystery Mile is the sort of the local nickname that's been given to Kelly Road in Pennsylvania. It's in Beaver County. There's a 1-mile stretch of Kelly Road that's listed as one of the top haunted roads in the world.
Oh, wow.
And I read that story many, many episodes back. And then in my research for trying to find some cool stories to read for this episode, I came across one that was written and submitted in June of 2003, almost 20 years ago, by Arissa in Pennsylvania. And it's a bit of a sequel. This one's called The Angry Boy on Mystery Mile. I'm not normally a person who submits things like this, but when I saw the story from a year or so ago about Kelly Road, I had to share my own experience there. See, I used to live on Kelly Road before the part called Mystery Mile actually began, but we owned a lot of property, about 6 acres worth, and part of it spilled onto the mile, in particular, our backyard. I was only little when we first moved there, probably 8 or 9. For a long time, nothing ever happened to me, but my room faced the backyard, where part of our land fell onto Mystery Mile, and I can remember every night going to bed terrified. I was so cold, even in the summer. My parents told me I'd get used to it, but I never did. For 4 years, it went on like this, a sense of freezing cold and unexplained terror that I felt. But one night, I decided I was sick of being scared. I forced myself to get up and go to the window and look outside into our backyard. There was someone there, and even though it was pitch black outside, I could see him as if it were daylight. His face was pale and his eyes were so sad. I don't understand how, but even though he was far away, I knew what his face looked like. But the incredible thing were the clothes that he had on, which looked to be decades old. I was so afraid that I couldn't bring myself to turn away from the window. The boy glared at me, and the gap between us seemed no further than I am from my own computer screen right now. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I felt so sad and afraid. My eyes were watering, but whether from sadness or fear, I don't know. Finally, the boy went away, and I screamed and screamed. My parents ran in, and I told them what I saw. They insisted I was sleepwalking or having night terrors, and that I should go back to bed, but I couldn't sleep for a long time. I asked our neighbor about it a few days later. He told me about how strange things always happened just past where my house was, and that sometimes the people who lived here would see things and sometimes they wouldn't. Later that night, I was in the kitchen, 1 floor below my bedroom. I was making a snack when I glanced out the window and I jumped out of my skin. The boy from a few nights before was standing outside, but he was a lot closer than he had been. His face was angrier than it had been before. I ran into the living room and told my dad, but when he went out to look, there was no one there. At this point, my dad was starting to get worried about me, and honestly, so was I. But that was not the worst part about it. When I went into my bedroom that night, the boy came back, but he was in my room, just inside my window. He looked very angry. I was so afraid all I could do was scream for help. My parents came in, and they must have seen something too, because they pulled me out of the room and slammed the door. Nobody slept that night, but I told them about what our neighbor had said. The next day, my dad came back from the neighbors, and he was really upset. He said that our neighbor told him that the boy had never got that close before, and he'd never come inside the house before. He thought it meant something bad, so he called the real estate agent who sold us the house. The agent admitted people had seen some odd things, but that nothing bad had ever come of it. My dad didn't take any chances, and he had us move off of Kelly Road very quickly. Sometimes I still see the boy in my dreams, even though that was 10 years ago. I will never forget the terror of feeling that other presence in the room with me and seeing the sadness and anger on his face. There are so many people who lived on this road with stories to tell that you could start a new website on that alone. I'm glad to see someone sharing their experience about it. It gave me the courage to do the same. If you're ever in Ohioville, stay off of Kelly Road, or you may live to regret it. And that story was called The Angry Boy on Mystery Mile, written by Arissa in Pennsylvania, June of 2003. Now, I want to live on Mystery Mile.
I would not turn my nose up at the opportunity.
I think it would be kind of cool to look out the window and see a ghostly child. I mean, I wouldn't call the cops.
No, you'd probably pee your pants and fall on the floor, though.
Well, I mean, I do that on occasion anyway.
Yes.
Never really for fun, more out of just blind accident.
Accident being the operative word.
Yeah, but you and I have discussed this whole thing about the phenomenon of black-eyed children, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was a knock at the door and I looked out and I saw a couple of creepy-looking kids, I don't know, man, I might invite them inside just to see what happens.
No, you wouldn't.
No?
No. You'd just shout through the door and tell them, go away.
Don't they know what no soliciting means and all that stuff? Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm just being brave.
Yeah.
Talking brave.
Talking brave. Yeah. Your bark is definitely bigger than your bite, and your bark isn't that big.
I'm talking something, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, that was a great story. I liked it, and I would not call the realtor immediately. I would probably start charging admission.
That would be a fine way to make a few bucks.
It would.
So, Jane.
Yes.
I've told a story.
Yeah.
I think it might be your turn to tell a story.
I think it is my turn.
A true ghost story.
Yeah.
This is what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. I'll do that. Right meow. My first story tonight is called Our Unfriendly Farewell, and it was submitted by the ever-prolific Anonymous in USA.
My favorite writer.
Yep. And was submitted in June of 2007. From early on in my relationship with my husband, I became aware of his sensitivity to spirits. I myself can feel when they are around, but have never seen them. We have now been married many years and have children who also have this special gift. In March 2006, my family had just bought a home in a city 30 miles from the home we were currently renting. The rental home was about 60 years old and had a single finished bedroom in the basement that our children were not very comfortable sleeping in. We had experienced many episodes of activity in our home during the 6 years of living there. Most of these were focused on the children and my husband. These consisted of tapping on pipes in the basement, to my children waking in the middle of the night to someone standing beside their bed. My second to the oldest came up the stairs one morning to see someone who he described as a woman with long black hair covering her eyes, just standing in the dining room. These experiences were frightening, and we were happy to be moving to a new home that we felt wouldn't have these types of spirits hanging around. What we didn't expect was the frightening farewell these guys were going to give us. The purchase of our new home was very unexpected, and we planned on moving in about 2 weeks. We thought it would be best if I stayed in the rental for the last week with the youngest children to wrap up the last-minute packing and the last week of my job. My husband and the other children went to our new home, and my husband got busy setting up his office there. I was a little nervous about staying there alone, so I set up the kids' sleeping bags on my bedroom floor so we would be together. Things went pretty well until the second to the last night of staying there. That night, I stayed up real late packing up the last of the basement. I sent the children to bed as I was finishing up the storage room. I kept feeling like I was being watched by someone not very pleasant. I tried to just ignore the feeling and tell myself I was just being a baby. When the feeling wouldn't leave, I decided to go to bed. That night, I had a nightmare of a man with a shaved head and skin that looked like he had been burned real bad. The next morning, I got the kids up and was getting breakfast ready when my 8-year-old son came into the kitchen looking very pale. I asked him what was wrong. He told me he was using the bathroom and had looked up in the mirror. Our bathroom had a mirror covering the wall behind the toilet and the wall beside it. And he had seen a man with a shaved head and burnt skin closing his eyes and smiling at him. This, as you can imagine, scared him very badly, and he ran out of the bathroom. I went into the bathroom with him to see if he was still there, and there was a very putrid smell lingering in the air. We didn't experience anything as dramatic as that again in the last nights there. The scariest thing was that after we joined the rest of our family at the new house, my older boys told me they had dreamed about the same man the night I did. I don't think he was too happy about us leaving that house and wanted to give us a big, scary farewell. Thank you again to Anonymous in USA for submitting our unfriendly farewell in June of 2007.
There was some terrifying imagery in that story. What was the deal with the woman?
The woman with the hair, it's very shades of The Ring or something like that.
Yeah, and covering her eyes. What is that? And then the bald burn man.
Oh, you took it to mean covering her eyes like with her hands over her eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's creepier because I pictured the whole like the hair hanging down in front of her eyes, but I actually think that the hands over the eyes thing is even scarier.
That's what I heard. That's what I envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bald guy
closing his eyes and smiling at him in the mirror.
What the hell is that?
Yeah. But you mean besides terrifying?
Mirrors.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
Don't trust them.
Don't look in the mirror, especially first thing in the morning.
But we did a thing about Bloody Mary a long time ago. I think it's been more than a year now. And I think we talked about, mirrors being creepy and
haunted mirrors and
Yeah. And the thing where if you point a mirror at a mirror, it's supposed to create some kind of a portal where spirits can get in, but they can get trapped and you shouldn't look into, a mirror reflecting a mirror.
Right.
Man, I've always been fascinated with that. When I might have said this in that episode, but when I was a little kid, my grandparents in their bathroom had this very long countertop and kind of like our bathroom mirror, with the two mirrors on the side that pop out so that you can angle them and you have like a 3-way mirror reflection thing. So it was kind of like that, but they were bigger and I was able to sit on the sink and kind of close those mirrors around myself. So I was like in this little triangle of closed mirrors and it was really creepy, but fascinating. I used to do it all the time. I still kind of play with those mirrors every once in a while, close them around my head as much as I can and like try and make eye contact with myself in some of the weird reflection. Is that weird?
Oh, is that what you were doing? I thought you were looking for something in the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, with my head stuck in the mirrors. Mm-hmm.
I did that. I used to do that though when I was a kid too. And oddly enough, in my parents' master bedroom bathroom, there was just some weird angle that you could look down and I could see into infinity. And when I think about it now, I might have been seeing myself now because I'm still, in
Ooh,
my head, I'm still looking back through it.
that's pretty creepy.
But I think that if I had,
Very existential.
and terrifying too, because
Yeah.
if I had seen myself, I would have seen that bald man with a burned head. No.
You don't have a burned head yet. Just kidding.
Well, if I stay out in the sun too long, just like a vampire, kind of.
A big old ginger vampire.
Don't paint this gross image of, nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to see that in their head.
All right, read us another story.
And I do have a story for you. This is actually a brand new story.
Ooh.
So brand new to the website that as I'm reading it tonight, it's not yet listed on the website, but it will be by the time you guys hear this. It's called The Basement.
I'm terrified already, actually.
One of the scariest words in the English language, I would say.
I agree. To quote Art Bell, nothing good happens in basements.
Wise words from a wise man. And once again, it was written by Anonymous. Here it goes. This is not my story, but the story of a close family friend. Her name was Leanne. At the time, she was 32, single, and had just bought a nice 2-story house in Colorado. She had heard talk about her new house being haunted, but she didn't think much of it. She was in a new town, had a new job, and was finally free of her old musty apartment. Nothing was going to discourage her. Her new house was on a bit of a hill, allowing it to overlook the smattering of houses spread across the valley. Each house had at least a couple of 100 feet of space in any direction, which Leanne adored. Having lived in an apartment most of her adult life, she appreciated the separation. She started moving her stuff in August. She chose a room on the main level to be her bedroom because of its large window overlooking the valley. But she decided that it would be too small for her other 2 most prized possessions, her piano and her parrot, Nibbles. She chose to set the piano up in the basement against a wall, and she put her parrot's cage and jungle gym a couple of feet away from that. She thought it was perfect. A couple of months went by, and she was happier than ever. Her new job was going great, and she was loving Colorado. Her house, though, felt very empty. While she didn't mind the solitude of being single, she felt like so much space in her house was wasted and unused, and she figured that she wouldn't mind some company. So she decided to rent out the basement room. Before she could extend any offers, however, she wanted to sleep down there for herself for a couple nights just to see if it would be a suitable place for her renters. She gathered her blanket and pillow and headed down to the basement to set up for the night. The mattress in the basement room was placed in a corner, facing a walk-in closet with a carousel-type clothes rack. When the door was open, the room had a view of her parrot in its cage, as well as a very small sliver of her prized piano in the main room. Once she got her bed set up and fed her parrot his dinner for the night, she crawled into bed and went to sleep. Leanne awoke very suddenly in the middle of the night. This was unusual for her, as she was usually a deep sleeper. At first, she thought it was because she was sleeping in a different room, but something seemed off. She could hear a faint banging in her closet, and she could see that her parrot was acting very strange and restless in his cage. She chose to address the closet first. She got out of bed and walked slowly to the door, and when she opened it, she choked back a scream. Her clothes and their hangers were spinning on the carousel rack, going around and around as if someone had just started turning it. She poked her head into the closet, frantically checking every corner to see if someone was hiding in there, but there was no one there. Leanne tried to reason with herself. It was probably just the air conditioning blowing the clothes around, right? Or maybe she had gotten up in the middle of the night without remembering? As she was running through the possibilities in her head, she recalled how restless Nibbles had been acting, and so she rushed out of the room to check on him. As she approached his cage, he started flying around more frantically than ever before, banging into the metal sides, and repeating the same phrase over and over. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Leanne was truly alarmed at this point. Her heart felt like it was going to explode out of her chest, and her head was on a swivel trying to see what was causing the disturbance. Then she heard it, the faint sound of her precious piano. She whipped around to look at it. The lid was lifted, and single keys were being pressed down to form a slow, haunting melody. Still, she couldn't see anyone else in the room. That did it for her. She bolted up the stairs as fast as she could, desperate to get to her car. Leanne could still hear her parrot downstairs, but she didn't go back for him. That's messed up.
That's horrible.
Leanne, come on. Nibbles?
R.I.P. Nibbles.
Her survival instincts had taken over, and all she could think about was getting herself out of that house. When she got to her car, she immediately slammed the gas and sped off down the hill. As she was driving, she caught a glimpse of movement in her rearview mirror. Her front door, which she had left open, had just been slammed shut. She also saw that her front window's curtains had been drawn, something that she never did. Leanne snapped her eyes back to the road and told herself to stop shaking. When she got to a neighbor's house about a half-mile away, she banged on the door and begged to be let in, citing a broken air conditioning as the reason why she needed somewhere to sleep. The neighbor was understandably upset about being awakened so early in the morning, but all Leanne cared about was getting to the safety of the house and getting into a bed. Unfortunately for her, it was a sleepless night. In the days after the incident, Leanne was very restless. Upon returning to her house, she saw that nothing was damaged and her parrot was alive and well, but the piano lid was still up and her curtain windows were still closed. In the safety of daytime, she moved her parrot up to the living room and decided not to rent out the basement. She also played considerably less piano. Within a year, she had found herself a wonderful boyfriend and had moved in with him. She never clarified whether her hasty move-in had anything to do with her experience that night, but we all figured it did. As for the house, it was sold to a young couple after Leanne moved out, but it appeared back on the market a year later. Most people who ask her what she thinks caused the disturbance get the same answer. She says it was a person, a burglar, or a squatter maybe, but to her closest friends, she confides that she knows it wasn't a person, it was a ghost. And that was The Basement, submitted in December of 2023 by Anonymous. For some strange reason, I'm more concerned about Nibbles than I am about Leanne, or the new tenants of the house.
Poor Nibbles. Did she say that it was a few days before she went back to the house?
No, the next day.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was about ready to throw down and call Sarah McLaughlin or the ASPCA or someone. But yeah, poor little Nibs. But that was great. That was
a brand new story right there.
Yeah. Don't put pianos in the basement.
Yeah, what's with that?
Don't sleep in the basement of an empty house.
No.
If the house is empty, be on the main floor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Closest to the door,
mm-hmm.
to the exits, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I've never experienced quite the same thing, but I have fled a house in the dark before.
You have?
I have. This happened in, I think, 1997 or 1998. And my sister and her husband were on a vacation. And they had this really cool house up in the hills, you know. And they left me the keys. They said, you know, check on the house. And, you know, if you want to hang out there, play pool on the pool table, listen to music, do whatever. And so I thought, yeah, this is kind of cool. So I arrived one Saturday afternoon and I put on some music and I was kicking back and I fell asleep. I woke up a few hours later. The music was stopped. The CD had ended. The windows were open, but there was a real hard wind blowing. And so all the curtains in the house were just billowing. And I wake up in the dark to these billowing curtains, not knowing really for a minute where I was. And I got this really creepy feeling. I mean, it probably was just the disorientation, but I got up and I got my keys and I started going for the door and I bolted out of there. I think I left the windows open and everything, but I got into my car. I was freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
I never told them, I don't think, because I might have asked them, hey, have you ever experienced anything creepy here? It wasn't like I saw a ghost or anything, but I just had this really creepy vibe being there alone. And I fled. Have you ever fled from a home in the dark?
No. Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes, in the middle of the night. But
I would hear of this.
It was a very different reason. There was someone outside, like a physical person outside, walking around my property, and I could hear their hands on the windowsill of my bedroom as they were trying to, I don't know if they were trying to open the window or just trying to look into the window. So I came running out of the bedroom, and I could hear the person running around the side of the house.
Oh my God.
And I had 3 cats at the time, and they were all sitting on the floor, and their heads were turning to the sound. Like, they couldn't see the person, but they could hear it, and they were freaked out by it. And all 3 of their heads turned in the direction the footsteps were going. So, in the bathroom of this house, we had, it wasn't a very well ventilated room, and it was an older house. And so the ceiling above the shower would get little mold spots on it. So we had this like spray cleaner that we would spray on it. And it was the most caustic, horrible stuff. I remember to clean it, we would take a huge deep breath, run into the bathroom, spray it on the ceiling. You had to close your eyes because that stuff would fall down and it would just burn the hell out of your eyes. So we'd run into the bathroom with holding our breath, spray the ceiling real quick, run out of the bathroom and close the door because this stuff was so horrible. It probably took 10 years off my life.
Jesus, I think that's scarier than the person outside.
I know. So I'm in my house and I'm like, I cannot stay here. Well, I couldn't think of any weapon to take with me because I had to go out to my car. So I went into the bathroom and I grabbed the bathroom cleaner stuff and I set the spray to like jet. I was like, some mother clucker comes up on me with this thing in my hand, they will be blinded. So I walk out of my house, with my back to my car, like police style with the spray bottle in front of me. And I'm like looking everywhere and I like walk backwards to my car and I get in and I drive away.
I don't think I would have left the house. It's like you could run into the person while you're walking out your front door.
I could also sit inside the house like a fish in a barrel and wait for him to come to me.
I guess you could have just sprayed the whole house down and it would have just scared the person.
Oh no, I would have sprayed the crap out of that guy's eyeballs.
Yeah, you would have blinded him and you would have taken 10 years off his life. So
exactly. See?
Double whammy there.
Mess around and find out. Oh, so I have another story. Should I read it?
Yeah, do it.
This story, I don't want to build it up too much. But while I was reading this story, when I was searching for stories today, you saw Vince. I had a reaction to this story and I had some serious goosebumps. This story freaked me out.
Yeah, you made a noise like I thought you saw something scurry across the floor.
Yeah, it got me pretty good and hopefully it gets you pretty good. This story is called 2 Years, and it was submitted by Anonymous in Massachusetts, USA. No relation to Anonymous in USA.
Are you sure?
No. In January of 2001. Location, Taiwan. Time, 19 years ago. My father has been waiting a long time for the house across our street to be on sale, but he was told that the owner of the house refused to sell even though the offer was higher than its value. He would rent the house out, but none of the tenants would stay more than 3 months. One day, an old man was standing in front of the house looking at it, and my father walked past him and said, "Hi." They started talking, and the old man asked if my dad liked the house, and he eagerly nodded. So the old man turned around and told my father, "If you could give me the down payment by Saturday, the house will be yours." It turned out the old man was the doctor that owned the house. Dad immediately hired a bunch of workers to help him remodel some parts of the house. After the worker complained about some weird incident happening during the day, he decided to go over to the new house to do some work after he closed the clinic, around 10 p.m. When he stepped into the house, everything looked normal, so he started hammering. Just then, he heard a lady's voice tell him, "You don't have to work so hard remodeling this house. You and your family will only stay in this house for about 2 years." He finished up what he was doing and headed home and told my mom, but not us. When the time came for us to move in, my sisters and I were so happy to have our own room. But as we walked down the long and dark bedroom hallway, we all got a little bit scared, but didn't know why. My bed is directly located under the attic door, and sometimes I can hear footsteps in the attic, or dust will fall on my face. I told my dad about it, and he said he would check it out for me. He poked his head into the attic and came down almost right away. He told me it was our neighbor walking the dog on the roof next door. That's where the footstep noises were from. The houses are connected in the area we lived. I didn't believe him one bit, but kept quiet. 2 neighbors came to my father one day and told him they were interested in combining their land together to build a 9-story apartment complex. Since our house is in the middle, they would like my father to join them in this deal. Dad agreed and told us we may have to move down the block while the apartment is being built. The time we stayed in that house is about 2 years. When we finally moved away, my dad told us there was a lady that, quote, lived in the attic. When he went upstairs to check it out for me, the lady was standing by the attic door, staring down at my dad. What my father didn't know is that me and my sisters all have had contact with the lady in some way. One night, when my little sister Sunny didn't go to sleep like my mom told her to, the lady appeared by the side of the bed and held Sunny by her hand and told her, "Little girl, you better go to sleep now, or I will bite you." And she opened her mouth and pretended that she was going to bite her. Sunny was confused and a little bit scared, so she went to sleep right away. My step-grandmother never liked to stay in my room when she came for a visit, and she wouldn't tell my dad why until we moved away. She said that a black shadow will always appear on top of her chest and crush her so that she couldn't breathe, and had nightmares night after night. That never happened to me. As a matter of fact, one time when I was having a high fever and thought I was going to die, she whispered voices in my head to comfort me and told me to turn on the radio so I would have something funny to listen to. That night, I heard a broadcast that had never been picked up before by my little toy radio. She will also play tricks with our visitors. If the visitor is left alone in the room, she will make the footsteps sound and make the visitor think someone was coming down the stairs. When they tried to use the phone, she would make the phone line dead. Dad also told us that the previous tenants moved away because the lights would turn on and off by themselves, and the windows would open back and forth without anybody touching them. Strange noises could be heard throughout the house. That's why the tenants all got scared away. Dad also told us that the house used to be a restaurant and the dancers used to sleep in the attic. After they finished building the apartment and we moved back in, she is nowhere to be found. We still talk about her sometimes and wonder where she went. Thank you again to Anonymous in Massachusetts, USA for submitting 2 years in January of 2001.
Save the best for last.
Right?
God, that was terrifying.
It was so scary.
And that was in Taiwan, you said?
In Taiwan, yeah. Although I do kind of wonder, it could have been somebody squatting.
Frogging.
Frogging. That's what they call it now, not squatting. Well, I guess frogging is going from house to house. The dad popped his head up in the attic. Oh, hello, scary lady. Goodbye. Maybe she was living up there. But that doesn't make it any less terrifying. In fact, it may even make it more terrifying.
Right.
Completely unrelated. I realized that There is something that we talked about a few episodes ago, and we said we were going to do, and we never updated our findings.
Uh-oh.
Remember, we had the argument between us about which creep show was the best, Creep Show 1 or Creep Show 2.
Yes.
So then we went and we watched them both to compare them.
Yes.
And he came around to my point of view, and we agreed that Creep Show 2 is the superior one.
Did we?
Yes.
Is that where we landed?
That's where we landed.
Because of the raft?
No, because it's actually creepy. Like, Creep Show 1 was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the cake story, which is a good one, but it's a little silly.
It is a little cartoony.
It is cartoony, yeah.
And
it's worth a watch.
And you've got a couple of comedians,
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson, playing off each other in like a dramatic to the death type of encounter. Both those guys are funny as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing funny about that. You're like, Leslie Nielsen, make a joke.
Yeah.
But he's pointing a gun.
Don't bury people up to their necks in the ocean.
That's sound advice.
Creep Show 2, the superior one.
Well, I hear there's a number 3 that was made sometime in the 2000s.
No.
I'm not at all interested.
No, that should not have happened. Let's pretend you didn't say that.
Oh.
Hey, how about if you, dear listener, have seen Creep Show 3, why don't you tell us what you thought of it? You can head on over to castleofspirits.com and either use the little contact us form, or you can submit it through the lounge, or you can call us on the telephone and leave us a message. Tell us what you thought. That number is 801-436-7838.
Got an email.
We did?
We
Man,
got-
I beg for emails all the time. I love it when
And
one
then
of
we
you
forget
falls
to
for it.
Then we forget to read them because this is from November of 2023.
We suck.
This is James. He says, I read on your site a long time ago a story where an old lady can see a ghost or a shadow approaching in her mirror, and it ends up taking her. Later in the story, it does the same thing to a young girl, home alone, after her family has moved into the old lady's house. I can't seem to remember the title or find it anymore. I was wondering if you may know the one that I'm thinking of. I'd very much like to read it again. Well, James, I'll tell you what. I don't know what story that is.
Mm-mm.
I tried doing a search, and I mean, it is possible that it may have been somehow over the years, maybe it was lost from the website. If that sounds familiar to anybody, let us know.
Yeah, if that story's familiar to you,
It sounds creepy as hell,
we'd like
though.
to
I
help
like it.
James out. Yeah.
Ooh, and we've been asking for people to leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts, and we've got some people who've done so.
We do. Are they bad?
No, this is awesome.
Okay.
This came to us from Designer Zen, who gave us 5 out of 5 stars.
Nice. Thank you.
And it says, keep feeding those ghosts in the castle. I'm always on the edge of my seat listening to the soothing voices of Vince and Jane as they tell true submitted stories. Their antics and synchronicity make this my most listened to paranormal and ghost podcast.
Oh,
Designer Zen,
you're our hero.
you make my world go round.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got another one, another 5-star review from Smile Friend. It says, love. I've been a fan of Castle of Spirits for a very long time. Favorite website. The Ghost Keepers have made pasta excellence. The Ghost Keepers have made podcast excellence. Thank you so much, and please keep it up.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Smile Friend.
And we will keep it up. I have a YouTube comment that I'd like to read.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So we got a YouTube comment last month on the Amityville Horror episode that we did.
Oh, yes.
And I love this comment. It's by user FP7H, just, bunch of numbers and letters, gobbledygook. They said, weird, I was the 666th viewer for this video. I'm the 666th person that has streamed and watched this video. Thanks for pointing that out.
And I call that a most dubious distinction.
You did call it a most dubious distinction. That's true. And, Vince, it's really interesting. Over the last few weeks, we've really had quite the surge in listenership.
We really have, yeah.
Our stats are booming, as the kids are saying these days. So to me, that can only mean one thing.
What?
The only thing that makes sense is that our listeners hate the show.
Now, why do you say that?
Because we always tell them, if you like the show, tell a friend.
Right.
Well, our stats have grown exponentially. Because I also say, if you hate it, tell 2 enemies.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure that means that our listeners hate the show. They're telling 2 enemies, which is causing our stats to boom. So, haha, fooled you.
So it
was a trap.
I can just see it. I can see it now. Hey, screw you, buddy. Why don't you go listen to the Castle of Spirits podcast? And the guy walks away and goes, screw me?
Yeah.
Listen to Castle of Spirits podcast? I think I will.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, there you go.
Yeah. And then he hates it and he tells 2 enemies also. And before you know it, world domination. That's where we're headed.
Why don't we try something else? Why don't we say, if you like the show, tell 2 friends. If you hate it, tell 1 enemy.
No, because then our stats will go down because... See what I mean? If all of our listeners hate the show,
it's like
why don't you tell 3 enemies?
It's an inverse math equation. I get it.
Yeah. We're working in negative fractions or square roots or something.
I think that might have something to do with like mathematics. I don't
geometry.
Like that. Geometry, yeah.
Yeah, Vince doesn't know geometry. The other day he admitted to me that he has no idea what a rhombus is.
I thought it was just a dance move or something that cleans the floor.
That's a rumba and a Roomba.
Oh, right. What did I say?
Rhombus.
Oh, rumba. Oh, no, it's a bus. Like the bus that drives around.
No, it's not a bus.
No? Well, I have my work cut out for me tonight. I'm going to Google search rhombus.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed.
Oh.
It's just a drunk square or rectangle.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, there.
Oh, here comes the music.
All right, guys, it's time for us to go feed the spirits. We want to thank you for listening and for showering us with your love and affection.
Yes, and continue telling those 2 enemies.
Yeah, do it. It seems to be working, man.
Yeah.
So until we see each other again, my name is Vince, the Ghost Keeper.
And my name is Jane, the Ghost Keeper. Just like at the beginning of the show. You were there.
Together, we are the Ghost Keepers.
Just like at the beginning of the show.
Won't you ghost keep with us?
Is that kind of like the creepy Mr. Rogers version of Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's create a theme song.
No, I don't want to create a theme song.
Oh.
So until we see you again next time, make sure that you check under the bed.
And keep those closet doors closed.
Yes.